What's up, YouTube? Back here with another video, and today we are going to start the hype train build-up. Alright, so I am going to do a build here for these Rotor-Riot hype train motors, alright? Now we got, here are the 4 motors, right? We're going to put these off to the side, and today we're going to get to, of course, all the screws are sticking to the motors. Today we're going to get to building up the frame and installing the motors, because that's all the parts I have at the moment, and I really want to get this started. So I am building a Hyperlow. This is the 15 millimeter standoff version. Okay. Now on the thing it says 15 millimeters is good for a PDB and a flight controller, but you know, I'm using an all-in-one PDB flight controller, and I figured that, you know, the little extra space couldn't hurt, and I'm glad I did. I probably should have went with the 20 millimeter ones, because this thing is very low. The clearance is going to be tiny. So we'll finish building up the frame here. I kind of started to get an idea of what's what, and you know, these are all the parts you get. These are for the camera. I've come to figure out. This modular, this is the 4 millimeter arm thickness, and it's the modular frame, so they're all going to get put together. You got this bottom plate, you got, you know, the bottom plate, you got your main bottom plate, you got your 4 arms, 4 millimeters thick, you got your top plate, alright, it's got your 2 battery strap spots, and then this is your camera protector plate that goes in here once we get to that spot, and I think that's it. 4 arms, top plate, and then all your screws and stuff. So start out, I'll put the arms on. Now I took a look, you can put your arms on no problem and still have access to your standoff screw holes for your flight controller, so we don't have to do all that first. So we can build this up, get the arms on, get the standoffs on, and then put the motors on, and then we can go from there, because I still don't have the flight controller, but we'll get to that on part 2. So first thing you're going to want to do is pull out, let's slide all this stuff over. You're going to want to pull out your 8 of the longest screws. So I already got 2 of them in there, so we're looking for 6 more. Alright, there's 6, and I got these washers in here. I wonder if these need to go in there too. I guess we could take up the space. And we got our 6 lock nuts. It'll be 8 total. Like I said, I got 2 on already, so we just need 6 more. There's 4. 5. Where's the other 2? We're missing 2. Where are the lock nuts? There's another one. There's another one. Alright, 6. And we'll pull out 6 washers. If there is 6. I don't even think there is 6 washers. Or 8 washers. Yeah, I don't see 8 washers, so I'm going to go and say that the washers are not for the arms. Alright. Missing 1 screw. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Alright. Okay, so now looking at the online, it looks like the nuts are going to go down. Alright, so we got that there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get all the arms set and the screws in, and then we'll crank them all down at one time. So we'll put this in here. So far everything's been lining up very good. I did notice that in a couple of these holes there's still some carbon from when they drilled it, but it does seem to be pushing out when I push the screw through, so that's okay. Alright, got one more arm. Alright, so now we got all 8 or 4 arms, all 8 screws in. So we got this set up like that. Now this is going to be your front, and this is going to be your back. Alright. So you can start to see, now this plate's going to go on here, and this plate goes on under here. So now let's see We got 6 standoffs and 6 screws we're going to need. And imagine for the back, it's going to take some shorter ones because we don't have like a bunch of plate to go through. The front 4 have the 2 plates to go through. So let's see what screws we got left here. I'm pretty sure it ain't going to be these super duper long ones. We're going to need some of these like medium length ones. That looks good for that. Let's see what do we got here in the front. See, now that looks a little short for the front. So I'm going to say that these, so you got, these are for your arms. Then these ones look like they're going to be for the front 4 for the plate. I think there's 4 of these in there. Yeah. We got 4 of the medium ones, and then I'm going to use these shorter ones for the back plate, for the back standoffs. All right, so let's take this. And we're going to put this on here. And even these screws here don't really catch a whole lot. Let me see what we got. That one's a little longer, actually. So there's 4. Yeah, that one's a little bit better. Alright. So it looks like this size screw is going to be for the back and the top. Those are even smaller. So we got 6 of those small ones. I guess they're for the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We got 4 more of these really long ones. These ones. 5, 6. There's a bunch of these. Well, maybe these 4 more long ones go for the front. Oh, you know what? These long ones definitely go for this. So you're going to need 2 more long ones for these back standoffs. Definitely. Yeah, definitely need 2 for that, because those suckers are long. That's got to go. Now these 2 standoffs goes through the bottom plate, the arm, the arm thickness. It's got to go through all of it, and this piece, while this only goes through these 2 pieces. So that's going to be the longest screw. The long screws. And then let's see, what screw is this? This screw. I don't see. Interesting. Let's see. Maybe, because that's just tight now. That's right. So let's use this one. That's going to be too big. Really need that length. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those are for the top plate. I guess we're going to use these 2. That's the things with these frames. I looked on the site. Let's get this one. Another standoff. Alright. So we got that. Now these back plate screws. I guess I'm going to use 2 of these. because if I'm going to use short ones, I'd rather use short ones on top. You know, the shortest screws on top. Alright. That worked. And where's... Alright, so we're back. And we got the last standoff. Alright, so here's our stand. Here's our frame now. What I got left is I got 4 of this size screw. 4 of this size screw. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of that size screw, and 1 left of the really, really long screw. And then also in the package is these plastic spacers, 4 of them, 4 of these, and 4 nuts. Now, I'm actually not going to use those because I'm going to use these rubber bumpers, screws in these rubber bumpers, since I don't need to do a 2-piece thing there. And then the other last thing we need to do before we tighten up, now we don't need that screw obviously, so I guess for the top piece I'm going to use these 4, and then 2 of these for the top plate. So we'll put those off to the side. We're not going to need those for a while when we get to the end of this process. Alright, now we can slip these, figure out these camera pieces. Now these look the same. Yeah, they look the same, so they're just going to slide over like this. And see how that is? That's going to give you some protection up front, I would imagine. Now let's see, let's make sure our frame is going to fit. Yeah, look at that. That bad boy is sweet. Alright. Let's stick a motor on here. I'll show you how that's going to go, and then we'll blast back when I got everything. So now the motor screws are these guys. These come with the motors, the HYPETRAIN motors. If you see my last video, I opened this all up. Now the first thing, obviously, you want to check. Now I could already see these are short ass screws. They barely poke through the 4mm arms, so we're going to be good with that. They shouldn't hit the windings because, I mean, you can clearly see. I mean, we don't have a whole lot, there's not a whole lot of space there anyway, so that should be pretty good. Now these motors have a 16x16, also Loctite. These motors have a 16x16 pattern, and they're going to be on the smaller side, so definitely just start the motor. See how I can show this. So I would, you know, get it lined up, just start each of the screws, so keep it loose. There's one, a little Loctite, and I'm going to line this up. Alright, we just caught the thread there. Screw. Alright, now we got all 4 screws in. I'm just going to check to make sure that it's centered and all looks good, and it does. So then we're going to crank this down. Now the motor screws are 2.5mm, and all the other ones for this frame are 2mm, so you're going to need the 2mm and the 2.5mm. Alright, so I'm going to tighten up all these things, right? You need a little socket wrench for the bottom and a little 2mm driver. Attach all the motors, and we will stop right back. Alright, and we're back. So I attached the rest of the motors. You know, they're Loctited up. You can see right here. You know, they're not poking through the aluminum, so this should be pretty good. I would have probably liked another millimeter on that, but that should be okay. We got all 4 screws, all Loctited in. I put the camera, if you've seen before we came back here, I had all 6 standoffs on, and I had the camera plate, so you can see how the camera sits in there now, which is kind of cool. And there's a decent amount of protection, but once you stick this up like this, and you start flying like this, you're pretty much screwed. I mean, it's still sticking up. But at least if you hit something, you know, there's a little bit of protection, but honestly, I mean, I'm using a Arrow V3 for this, but it's probably going to stick out about the same. So, you know, think about that when you're flying. You know, that sucker's going to be sticking up. But, it is what it is. I mean, that's the price you pay for the Hyper. I mean, look how low that is. I mean, the battery's going to go on top of that with the 2 straps right there. I mean, that sucker is freaking awesome. Now, I got an HD camera coming, so I don't think that's... I don't know how I'm going to do it. I'm going to have to put this back like this, and then put the GoPro here, I guess, or the GoPro copy, because who the hell's paying that much money? I guess that'll sit here, and this will be here. I don't know. That's going to be weird, because I don't have a frame. Anyway, we'll figure it out, but pretty damn sweet. I'm super stoked with this. You can see how this plate here, if you look right here, so the arms are actually locked into this plate. So the front arms themselves, and the front arms are going to be the ones that take most of the impact because you're going to be flying forward most of the time. So they're going to have a little extra strength. I mean, this thing is super rigid. I mean, it's pretty damn rigid. And as far as the HYPETRAIN motors, this build is pretty long. I tell you one thing, these are going to be damn close. Damn close when I put the, once the flight controller goes in here. Let me take out the top plate here. So we're good with that, but just stick this in here for temporary. Let's see. Yeah, see, I mean, they're gonna they'll reach, but they're close. I tell you, I would like a little more, just to be safe. But overall, it's pretty good. They should reach, but they are gonna be close. Probably, I don't even have to cut anything off the back ones. They're just gonna make it. So far, the only con I would say is it would be cool if they had. You know, longer wires. For those of you using 4-in-1 ESCs, that would be cool. For me, I'm going to be using separate ESCs, so I'm going to be cutting them, you know, back to here anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But, yeah, I don't know. I'll tell you one thing, though. This frame, it's going to be tough to have an ESC here. It's going to be very close. I didn't think of that. Well, it is what it is, I guess. That'll have to butt up right to here. And these wires will get cut like that. And then those will go to here. Very tight. But hey, that's the price you pay for something like this. The hyper low. So yeah. That's part 1. End of part 1 for the hyper low. We got the frame and the motors mounted. We got the camera mounted up here. This is going to change out, but you get an idea to see. I'll come back for part 2. We'll get the flight controller on here, we'll get the ESCs on here, and we'll get the motors all soldered up to all that. And then, you know, that should be pretty much it. We might button it up in part 2. We'll see how far that goes and how long it's going to be. Thanks for watching. Please stay tuned for for part 2. We'll build it up, and then we'll have we'll have some flight footage and a review of these HYPETRAIN motors. Here we go. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.